So why don't we cover some of the stuff we were going to talk about tonight, because there was some interesting things going on with the bishop. So we actually will cover this a little bit. Edward Penton and Diane Montagna came out with a website. I don't even know how if I can pronounce it. Let me see if I can find it. It's Cardinalium Collegi Recenzio. Would that be Recenzio or Recenzio? Yeah, my Latin's not that great. Yeah. So
we're starting with one you didn't even send me.
But the Latin gives it no, it's in there. Oh, it's actually the John Allen article I put in there.
Okay.
John Allen
from Edward Penton's website.
Yeah. Is the next pope speculation inappropriate? Get over it. So let me see.
Wait, so it's not this one?
No, let's go with that one. Okay. Groundbreaking interactive website on the College of Cardinals is launched. Created in response to requests from cardinals and others, the College of Cardinals report is the first site of its kind offering in-depth profiles on Papabile. To help cardinals know one another better, that is the overriding goal of the College of Cardinals report. There was another one called the Red Top Report. Remember that? Somebody tried launching that a while back. The first interactive online resource of its kind. 40 cardinals are profiled and in-depth, revealing who they are and where they stand on various issues, along with summary profiles of the remaining 200 plus members of the Sacred College, including 21 who received the Red Hat last week. Working with an international team of Catholic journalists and researchers, both Vatican journalist Diane Montagna, the project's executive director, and I have endeavored to provide a fact-based and reliably sourced database of information on the large and most diverse College of Cardinals in the Church's history. Yeah, because there's way more cardinals now than there has ever been. I don't even know how
currently over the number we're supposed to have.
Yeah, so I don't even know how the voting is going to work, because that's interesting. I don't know. Is it still just going to be 2/3 majority of whatever number is in there for valid voting cardinals?
I'm not sure. I'd have to read the current rules for or what do they call it?
I don't know. I'm tired too. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know.
All right. These requests have arisen mainly because the cardinals have little knowledge of one another, despite our globalized information age. This is partly because Pope Francis has chosen many new cardinals from lesser known periphery locations, but also because since 2014, regular consistories have ceased, leaving the Sacred College with few opportunities to meet. That's a very interesting thing that Francis did. They used to have these consistories where they would get the cardinals together so they would get to meet each other and get to know each other. But Francis, because he sensed there was this Francis fatigue going on, he didn't even want them meeting each other. He doesn't want them all to get to know each other and be able to hobnob and be like, all right, we're going to have to go in a different direction after this one, you know?
But he basically doesn't want too many cardinals meeting with Burke and Mueller.
Yeah. Yeah. Unlike my 2020 book, The Next Pope, which had a similar premise, what makes this project unique is its interactive nature. For the first time, visitors would be able to profile a complete list of cardinals by various relevant categories, discover the geographical and statistical breakdown of the Sacred College through an interactive map, and be able to consult a user-friendly, color-coded table showing where the cardinals stand on 10 key contemporary issues facing the Church today. So, I mean, that's interesting. That's good.
It's probably great for the Cardinals, and I couldn't care less. I don't need to learn about all the Cardinals.
You don't need to, but the Cardinals themselves need to.
Right, yeah.
So what the people who actually want this are the Cardinals, right? Look at what we have going on right now. We have a bishop, a cardinal in Sri Lanka, who is basically
I think he's just an archbishop.
Oh, he's just an archbishop?
Yeah.
So an archbishop in Sri Lanka basically telling all his priests, you are not allowed to have girls.
I know, you're right. Cardinal.
He's a cardinal, right?
Cardinal Ranjith.
Yeah. So you're not allowed to have girl altar boys, because the altar server is our greatest source for vocations to the priesthood. And to allow girls to take these positions would be too much of a detriment to our vocations process. Like, we would lose too many. So, all right, yeah, let's see. Dear Reverend Fathers, it has been brought to my knowledge that several parishes in the Archdiocese of Colombo have appointed girls as altar servers. In this context, I wish to reiterate what I stated at the presbyteral meeting held on the 21st of October, that no girls should be invited to serve at the altar. As altar servers in the Archdiocese, it should always be young boys, because this is one of the main sources of vocations to the priesthood in Sri Lanka, and it will affect the number of candidates entering the seminaries, which risk we cannot take. Since females are not allowed to be ordained priests, we have to make that decision. This cannot be changed at your discretion. Please carry out this as faithfully as possible, and do not think it is in your faculty to grant that. So, look, there are so many people that have their daughters as altar servers thinking they're helping the church. It's not all feminist revolutionaries. It's really not. There's a lot of people who just, it's women running these parishes, and they're just like, oh, I'll just have my daughter go be an altar server, not actually understanding what the purpose of this position is. It is mainly there to inspire young men to the priesthood, to show them the sacred vessels, to show them the liturgical positions. And
in previous years, it was a minor order. So it wasn't ordination, and it wasn't ordination in the sense of like the priesthood as the deacon and priest and bishops are, but it was a minor order. So women would have been
barred from it.
Yeah, you just can't be ordained.
This became a thing under John Paul II, and it is nothing less than transgenderism in the church. It is. And it's everything about the Novus Ordo is like this. It's allowing women lectors. It's like when you start putting women in positions where men are supposed to be, you actually mess with the mind of women and make them think they can be boys. It's transgenderism.
Because lector was once again a minor order as well.
So we have this cardinal in Sri Lanka doing this, and then you have Bishop Stowe in America sidestepping the USCCB, who, I guess Francis made it possible for women to be lectors and
acolytes,
which is insane.
And catechists.
It's essentially like, I don't know what the big deal is about them asking for women deacons when we essentially have women deacons in the Novus Ordo at this point.
Well, so did we actually talk about the story in Belgium with the diocese administrator, the woman diocese administrator, her name being said along with the bishops in the canon of the Mass?
That is insane.
Like, that is legitimately,
no, that's not, like, are they even in communion with the church anymore at that point?
I would say no. I mean, you literally you modified the canon, which, I mean, they did after Vatican II anyways, but that's beside the point. They modified the canon and put a woman's name next to the bishop.
That's absurd to me. So yeah, I had a female catechist as a kid too. That's why I don't understand, like, what is this about even? Like, they're already doing all this stuff. But I don't know if they mean like just a regular catechism teacher. Like,
no, they mean like an actual office.
Yeah, there's like a position of catechist that they kind of invented, I guess.
Yeah.
So you have Bishop Stowe doing that, and then you have Cardinal Supich. Cardinal Supich telling people,
we don't let's not forget what else Bishop Stowe has done as far as transgenderism.
Oh, he's the one who ordained that transgender monk.
Yep.
That's under him, right?
I don't think the hermit. I don't think she is ordained, because she's just a hermit.
Hermit.
Unlike
women doing
Father
Mass in Holland already, they use consecrated hosts, and she does the liturgy. Yeah, that's not like that. That's not Catholic anymore. I mean, I don't even know. Look, I don't know what. I'll tell you this: we went to Italy. A majority of the people were receiving on the tongue at the Novus Ordo that we went to. Now, I don't know if they were tourists or no. I don't think so. I think they were Catholics receiving on the tongue. Like, there wasn't a single church I went to while I was there where most of the participants, like most of them, received on the tongue. It was interesting to see, because they make such a big deal of it over here.
I think that is probably just cultural, because I know the whole on the hand thing started in like Holland, Belgium, Germany, things like that. So I think Italy is probably, hopefully, just more orthodox in that regard.
Yeah, maybe. Well, especially if the closer you are to Rome, like when you.
So MB says there's a big movement in Italy of receiving on the tongue.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I was actually pretty surprised by that. The other thing I noticed is the Oran's position during the Our Father, which seems to be an organic development of sort of liturgy because it's happening everywhere. So
I hate that so much. And that's honestly, like, there are theological reasons I hate it, but even before I knew those, I just don't like people.
This is another joke about Italians being black.
Which is funny because he's supposedly Italian.
He's Northern Italian. He's barely Italian. Barely. He speaks it a little bit, but that's about it. What's up, Joey? What's it called? All right. So yeah. So now, okay. So the whole thing with Supich, right? The idea that kneeling and receiving on the tongue is showmanship. It's so wild to me that they don't even try to understand the opposing view in any way whatsoever. They have it in their mind that every single person that goes up and kneels to receive is doing it as a virtue signal. Like that's just what they see it in their mind as. They don't see it as an act of humility in any way whatsoever.
That's because they have no understanding of Eucharistic piety or reverence because they have none of it themselves. They can't understand how someone would actually believe that that's God and would want to kneel for God.
Yeah. There was actually I remember that I went to a Latin mass at Holy Innocents once, and there was like an older woman who didn't want to turn her back to the tabernacle. So like as she was up towards the altar, she walked backwards to her pew. And I thought it was a beautiful thing. It's like something like, because it's something you would see in a show about like the king in the Middle Ages, where you wouldn't turn your back on the king, so you left his presence facing him. And I thought it was just like a little beautiful little thing of piety. And I mentioned it on Twitter, and everybody went nuts saying this is just her showboating and it's just this virtue signal. And it's like, I don't think it was. I really do think she was just trying to be a pious Catholic.
When I am in like small like adoration chapels where the Eucharist is exposed, I'll do the same, or at least try to.
Well, during adoration, I can totally understand.
In a the sanctuary of a church is a little difficult just because I'm not coordinated enough to walk backwards 200 feet in a straight line usually.
So me and Mary Teresa saw 3 Eucharistic miracles in Italy. Now, one of them when we went to it actually had, it was the Carlo Acutis exhibit. The Carlo Acutis exhibit had a list of all the different Eucharistic miracles, and one of them is the Buenos Aires miracle. And the Buenos Aires Eucharistic miracle is actually amazing. There's a documentary on it. I forgot who did it. I wish I had the link to it.
Not Carlo. He was gone.
Carlo? No, it wasn't Carlo. It was, so there's a documentary on it by, if I remember it, I'll tell you. So anyway, but Buenos Aires, it was Bergoglio was the bishop there when it happened, and he didn't want to get it tested.
Yeah,
like he fought getting it tested, and eventually he had like no choice. There was so much pressure on him, and he finally agreed to it. And when they tested it, it was like every single, like it was not just heart tissue, it was a very specific part of the heart that like brings life.
Was that in the
90s? Yeah, I think so. And it's one of my favorite ones to look at because it's so recent and it's so thorough in the scientific investigation they did. I'm not sure that, I don't know, but I know he fought it. Like he didn't want it to be seen. So yeah, that was one of the Saint. No, blessed Carlo Acutis. He's not saint yet.
He's not canonized.
He's not canonized yet. He's still blessed. We saw Carlo's body, and a few of the women really had an emotional experience with it. But
you saw the wax, anyways.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes. I don't know why you don't like that boy. He's a good boy.
Everyone's got to understand at this point. I'm digging my heels in because of everyone else.
I know. He is wearing a tracksuit in the class,
which is funny because
showcase.
he wore a suit to mass all the time.
Yeah, he's a very pious boy. Yeah. So the idea, so for Supich, the idea of communion to him is about the communion with the fellow believers, and he has this communal theology that he's trying to get through. And to him, it's not about God; it's about the meal, and it's about sharing the meal with your brothers and sisters. And it's not actually about the proper worship of God. It's not about the sacrifice of the Son to the Father. No. It's insane.
Right. What I found incredibly ironic is in his letter or whatever, he talked about how it interrupts the Eucharistic procession up to the altar. And that's funny because I seem to recall making a thumbnail for a video we did where I made Supich the little soup Nazi guy from
Seinfeld,
because he wasn't allowing the Eucharistic procession for the Eucharistic Congress, right? He didn't allow it to go through Chicago.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's why Anthony likes some Italians in tracksuits. Wait, this is actually interesting. The sad thing about the Acutis thing is that he was a great kid and loved Jesus, but he's been turned into St. Francis. I bet he'd be upset with what has happened. Yeah, the tour guide we had through Italy, I told you he was like one of my favorite tour guides, this guy Alessandro. And when I tell you, this guy loved St. Francis, and he kept comparing Carlo Acutis to St. Francis. And I kind of rolled my eyes when he would do it. You know, it was like a little bit of that. But yeah, they are trying to turn Carlo Acutis into St. Francis, as if he like abandoned his life and wealth and went off on his own. You know, he's not quite that, but he was a very pious kid.
His family is actually, and maybe Kennedy knows this better than I, but his family's rather wealthy, aren't they?
I'm sure, but the irony is that his mother wasn't even Catholic before, right? So like he wasn't raised Catholic. He had a conversion. Like the kid had a deep devotion to his Catholic faith. Like I'm not going to take that from him.
No, not at all.
He definitely suffered well. Like he was joyful through his suffering. And there's parts of that where you have to. It's just things that like all the canonizations in the Novus Ordo are questioned at this point, because you just had Francis canonize those 11 nuns from the French Revolution. Yet. Well, he's going to, right? Yet, but he's going to, and that is such a beautiful thing. Like these women sang hymns as they went to the guillotine. Like that is the definition of a martyr.
I forget who it was from, but I saw the perfect tweet today where it was, martyred by guillotine, wait 200 years to become a saint. Make a nice website, wait 20 years.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's not the full story, but for Carlo.
But, but there also were 2 miracles attributed to Carlo. So
one of them I hear, and I haven't looked into it, but one of them I hear is really questionable.
Okay. Hey Anthony, nice to see you back. Our bishop via a delegate recently called our priest and told him to stop celebrating mass ad orientem. It's like one of the saddest things that about going to Italy was seeing the Novus Ordo celebrated at these beautiful churches, man. It just didn't fit, and it was sadly our only option, because a bunch of the guys had woke up at like 5:30 one morning and they took an Uber and they went to an FSSP parish and they went to a Latin mass while we were there. I was too hungover and I didn't get up, but I commend those gentlemen for doing that. This while we were in Rome. Yeah, it's just sad about the whole canon. Like all the canonizations get questioned because they took away the devil's advocate and all this stuff. And it's like, I don't know, man. I still feel like if the church makes a declaration on something like that, it's like there's an aspect of infallibility to declaring a saint.
Potentially, yeah.
Like they actually say it in the canonization process, like we infallibly declare. But you're holding a person up as a model. Like you're holding this person up. You're raising them to the altars because their life is something you should emulate. you know?
Right.
So it really should be scrutinized, and it should be, this person lived an extraordinary life. It can't just be, oh, it was like a, you know, a relatively pious person, you know? It's gotta be something more to it.
Right. Because there is, or there should be, a difference between a saint in heaven and a saint, a canonized saint.
Yeah. Okay, so we have Bishop Stowe, Supage, then you have Cardinal Burke. Just everybody. Well, did you want to play that video of the freaking crazy Guadalupe thing? Because I had people telling me, play that video. I want to get to the bottom of this. I had somebody telling me they've been doing this since the days of Guadalupe. Kennedy, I know you have a devotion to Our Lady of Guadalupe. Can you tell me if this is something that's been going on since the days of the apparition, or if this is some crazy syncretistic Novus Ordo nonsense? The canonization process is not infallible. The declaration of them being in heaven is not the same thing as the process to investigate whether they demonstrated heroic virtue. Well, yeah, so if they declare them, if they canonize them, that means they are in heaven. But it doesn't necessarily mean, like Saint Pope Paul VI, like, I don't think anybody should emulate their life on his life. Like, it's not, he didn't live a life of heroic virtue. He may be in heaven. He died with all the sacraments, right? You imagine,
right? And had
probably made a final confession,
Catholics praying for him, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm sure you went to
masses offered for him. Probably got the apostolic pardon,
right? Yeah,
you know. I mean, I'm sure he's in heaven.
But other than being Pope, like, if he wasn't Pope, would anyone know who he was?
No. Having grown up in Italy, I can tell you Carlo is a good model for the boys. I'm sure. All right. Yeah. So what is the Kennedy? Tell me. Is this
Kennedy's trying? YouTube is censoring him.
What do you mean?
Well, so this is what he says. The Mexico thing is ecumenical. What's the Italian word that Francis used?
Francione?
Yes.
This faggotry?
Yes, that's what. Yep.
All right. So yeah, like, what is this? Is this just syncretism? Is this, like, what is this?
Well, first off, notice the female ultra boy on the right.
Of course. Of course. Yeah, Frociagine. Oh, Frociagine.
Really? Well, okay, first off, he looks like a white Viking more than a. Look at him. He doesn't even look native.
I said, like, I spend my whole day trying to convince Protestants we're not pagans, and then they go and do this nonsense. And it's like, how do you defend this?
He doesn't even look native. I don't know.
It's just
what is it supposed to be?
It's just stupid. So he looked like he was about to light his friend on fire.
Man, it would have been amazing. It would have been amazing.
Yeah, exactly. How long until they're pulling hearts out again, right? Like
so yeah, what culture was he supposed to be exhibiting? Aztec? I mean, are we talking about the Aztec culture that would slaughter 80,000 people on a day? Or Mayan, which wasn't in existence for 500 years prior to the arrival of Catholicism?
Like, you said Notre Dame Cathedral is
older than the Aztec civilization.
Is it really? I didn't know
200 years.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's really interesting to me.
So the Aztec civilization,
Kalima. Was that from Indiana Jones?
Yeah, the Aztec civilization had only been around for 100 or 200 years prior to the arrival of the conquistadors. Like, it was new, and it was an empire that had just recently arrived and recently conquered all the peoples around them. So yeah, I don't know why we would ever.
I didn't know that. That's so. When was Notre Dame actually first started?
I think in the 1100s. Let me look.
And you're saying the Aztecs were like what, the 1400s or something, 1400s?
So Notre Dame construction started 1163, and it was finished 1345.
That's so crazy to me. And the Aztecs, when were they?
1325.
Okay, so it's around this time. So we started it 200 years before the Aztecs, and Notre Dame was being finished around the same time. So
why would we want to emulate a culture that was still ripping hearts out of people while we were building the greatest architectural wonders in the history of the world?
Like, this is all right. So wait, two things. Our Lady helped bring Christendom to the South and Central America and conquer whatever culture that was. Yeah, it seems like rebellion. It seems like you're trying to revive the thing that Our Lady helped conquer.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen Young says, Apocalypto wasn't intended to be a mass rubric.
That is funny. The Apocalypto, right?
The Aztecs were preceded by another culture that
the Aztecs didn't build any of their stuff.
I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, so they just basically settled upon a thing that was already there, which has happened many times throughout. Like when you go see these, even they say even the Egyptian pyramids may have been built. Like me and Michael Hitchborn are convinced they were built before the flood.
We so I know I make fun of you for the whole not Hitchborn, Graham Hancock stuff, but we should do a show or two on that new season just for fun.
I think so. Well, this season was pretty boring.
Was it?
I didn't even.
But it had Keanu in it, an episode, didn't it?
Yeah, it was like quick, and it was like the first season was riveting because he was taking you all over to these different monoliths throughout the world. The second season is just South America, and it's stuff they didn't even dig up. It's like they're seeing. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. They're seeing stuff from like aerial views. That there's definitely ruins, but they're not like dug up. They would need to raise money to go and dig these ruins up and stuff. It's just so. I mean, but it's more proof that there was a civilization before an ancient apocalypse. Like there was, I mean, I just think it's the flood. I think it's the biblical flood. It was worldwide. There was a civilization before that, and all of these things were from before that flood. And then after the flood, civilization starts to pop back up. The people don't exactly know where they came from. Ancient apocalypse. Like they don't know where these things came from, and a new civilization kind of stumbles upon them, and they don't know what to do with them, and they form a new religion around these things, thinking, like, what are these things, you know? Right. And it's very similar to when we visited the Grand Canyon, and then we visited not Sedona. Did you ever see?
Oh, are you talking about the settlement, the cliff?
Let me see. I'm going to send these pictures to you. Hold on.
Stephen Young says Anthony is morphing into Billy Carson before our eyes.
Who's Billy Carson? What's that?
Really? You don't know Billy Carson?
No. These things.
Oh,
okay.
Not okay. So he is not who I thought he was. He's he's African like you. He's written a lot of like crazy ancient alien books. It looks like.
I'm sending you a couple of pictures because this is. I went to this. Bobby's down in Arizona. He should go there. Okay, I just sent you a couple of pictures. Like, bring these pictures up. Like this place, right? When me and my wife went here, you ever see pictures of this place? Like. Yeah. It's like these really bizarre rock formations, right? Like these were sacred places for the Native Americans that lived there because they just couldn't explain them. Like they went there and they thought they had divine qualities to them, you know? Like when they saw the Grand Canyon, they thought there was some kind of divinity. Like this is where the gods were, you know? It's just, they couldn't explain it. So like a religion formed around it, and these were considered like the sacred places. I sent you another picture too, I think. Yeah, like these are just such interesting, cool rock sculptures. And these were considered, sacred places. I don't know. It's just the I think these ancient civilizations stumbled upon these megaliths and monoliths, and they just,
I mean, this is just from flooding, though.
What, those rock formations?
Those formations, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, Arizona and the Southwest, like Utah, there's some bizarre landscapes there.
Mhm.
It doesn't look like Earth in some places. You feel like you're on Mars. It's like it's just very bizarre landscapes. But the natives would go there, and they were just these certain places they would go, and they were just like, there's something divine about this places. The gods are here, or they thought that was like the origin of life. Sorry, I'm behind, but Oxford University is also older than the Mayan civilization.
The Mayan civilization is like 500 years older than the Aztec, so that's how old Oxford is.
The argument from beauty becomes very compelling when you see places like that. I understand how they could be. Yeah, me too. When me and my wife went there, we were just like, how did they not think the gods created this place? Like, how could you not? It doesn't look like anything else in the world. You have to think God's finger touched it, or some divine process happened there. And
what's funny though is
how are you going to choose Timcast over us?
Well, because they want to find out if the Israeli wire's buying them or not, probably.
Yeah. Billy Carson recently tried to sue Wes Huff for embarrassing him in a debate on apocryphal text, saying Christ was married and wasn't crucified. Oh, wow. What a cornball. I would never say, don't ever say I'm becoming like him. Are you crazy? All right, we're gonna wrap this one up early tonight, guys. Nick couldn't make it tonight. Rob and I figured we'd just jump on with you guys, hang out for a little bit. We